What's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 4 of the TheThrowAwayDays podcast. I'm your host, Cody Jones, Stillborn Identity, the Red Hawk Ringo, whatever, it's me. This episode is brought to you in part by On the Skids Studios and Gallery. On the Skids is a screen printing studio, brand, and art gallery located in the pre-gentrified Pittsburgh neighborhood of Allentown. Find them on the web at ontheskidsstudios.com, on Instagram at ontheskidsstudios, or in person at 419 East Warrington Ave. But hurry up before they get priced out of the neighborhood, so you can be like, yeah, I was in Allentown before it was cool, because that's something you want to be able to tell your friends someday. Hey, before we get into the podcast at all, I want to say there's a GoFundMe out for the rapper Cubby Bear from Baltimore, Maryland. I had seen this floating around and didn't really look too much into it, and then I ran into Teddy Faley, who's a rapper from Baltimore, Maryland. He's from the generation a little bit older than me, and I kind of talked to him about it, and after that I went back and I reread the GoFundMe, and it's Cubby Bear vs. Cancer. Cubby Bear got a brain tumor, and he's going through chemotherapy and just having a pretty tough time, I guess, and his friends and family set up this GoFundMe to kind of support him through that. I met Cubby Bear maybe 6 or 7 years ago. He toured through Pittsburgh with C's Mikes and Desmatic, and at the time, if anyone knew me, I was kind of a wreck at the time. I was just always hammered. If you saw me live, it was terrible just because I was hammered. And I made a joke, or it wasn't even a joke, it was true, but I nonchalantly said that I had been living in my van behind the skate shop I worked at, but just kind of breezed right through it. And after my set, Cubby Bear came up to me and he's like, hey man, I heard what you said about you living in your van right now. He's like, I can't really do anything with you in terms of money, I can't help you like that, but if I gave you a shirt, would that help you at all? And I just always kind of remembered that generosity, he just stuck himself out for a complete stranger. And Teddy Faley said that's just the way he is. He's always been like that, and just always in shape, took care of himself, and then this happened, and this is just something you really can't prepare for. So but we can do what we can to make his situation a little better. If you can spare anything, I'm sure it would be greatly appreciated. You can go to GoFundMe. There's Cubby Bear vs. Cancer. So check it out. Check some of his music out too if you haven't. He does really good stuff. It's really unique. He's collabed with Prolific and some artists like that, so it's definitely cool. But yeah, I know that's kind of a bummer way to start the podcast, but I figured I have a little bit of a reach. Maybe I can do something positive with it. But yeah, beyond that, this episode we have Fricktion and DJ Mixmaster Sick Nasty Supreme. I met Fricktion. We played a show together in Lexington, Kentucky, after we were supposed to hopefully set one up in Bloomington, Indiana, and it never happened. But we ended up playing this really awesome show in Lexington, and we stayed at the same house after the show, and we drank beers, and we ate hummus, and then we just crashed on the same hardwood floor. In the morning we got breakfast. I'm like, this dude's cool, I like him. So when he came through Pittsburgh, I definitely want to meet up with him, and I got to have him on the podcast, and he was like, yeah, me and my DJ are coming up. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know you had a DJ. Alright, I'm not prepared, but let's do it. But I had a little talk with those guys, and it was cool. So we'll get into that, but I got some show announcements. I just played a show the 30th at Local 412. It was all local acts and stuff, and it was cool that it's cool that after 8-9 years or however long I've been doing this, that I can still play a show to all new faces. So I did that, and it was really good. Just kind of got me kicked in the gear a little bit more because it was fun and I needed that. It was a good change of pace. But my next show, this one just got added. Saturday, May 14th, I'll be at Gus's Cafe in Pittsburgh. I'm playing with the band called Rat Tits. They apparently play metal. I don't know anything about them, but I figured it would be a chance for me to play to a new audience, so I'm going to do that one. The following week, I'll be at Hen Haas with Native Spirit, and Calyx. And I just found out this kid I used to skate with 10 years ago is in Native Spirit, so I'm pretty pumped about that. The following week after that, me and Joey Smooth will be in Kent, Ohio on Friday, May 27th. Saturday, May 28th, we'll be in Huntington, West Virginia. And then June think it's like Sunday, June 12th, if that's a thing. Whatever that Sunday around that region is, I'll be playing in Pittsburgh with Esid and Bluebird, who I'm super excited to be playing with them at Belvedere's, which just reopened, which is even cooler. And then locals with the new Surface Level Records edition Left Field, as well as our good homie Mario Quinn. So I got some shows coming up. Check it out. Besides rapping, I don't know. I don't really have anything important to say. I've just been shooting photos and shit like that. I think the new Skate John issue number 34 is going to have a photo I shot in it, so if that's something you're into, check it out. But yeah, let's just get into the interview this time. Oh yeah, we got my man iAlive holding us down with a little background noise. He was last week's guest. Check it out if you haven't yet. But let's go into the Fricktion and DJ Mixmaster Sick Nasty Supreme talk. I know this one dude in Philly. He goes by DJ DM now. But like whenever I met him, he was DJ Dick Muscles.
Yes, that's amazing.
But now he's getting like real gigs and shit once in a while. So he's like, yeah, I'm just DJ DM. I'm like, all right, man, DJ direct message. That's cool. Word. So you said you've been out for like a little over a week now.
Yeah,
Playing every night.
Yeah.
Fricktion and DJ
Mixmaster Sick Nasty Supreme.
Mixmaster Sick Nasty Supreme. All right, word. Got it. That's tight. So you said you played where at in Michigan that you said went really well?
We hit several dates in Michigan. It's hard to say what the best one was. I think the wildest one was Kalamazoo.
Okay.
We played at a joint called the Free Clinic, and it was on April 20th. So there was all kinds of festivities
for sure.
on.
That's tight.
And it was jam-packed. It was just like super hype.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you're both from Bloomington? Or
No, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville?
Or Louisville.
Louisville. Okay. Yeah. It's weird how to pronounce that.
Yeah.
Louisville, Louisville,
Yeah.
Louisville.
Okay. How'd you guys meet?
Mutual friends. It was kind of a weird, funny coincidence. So some good friends of Chris's that moved up to Bloomington, just so happened that one of them was in the same graduate program as my partner, and she came back, she went to her orientation and then came back and was like, "You'll never believe I met a vegan rapper from Floyd County," which
Really?
is where I'm from in Indiana.
Yeah.
And I was like, "No way! I'd have thought I was the only one."
Yeah, really. You can say that for a whole an actual city sometimes too.
Yeah.
There's not a lot.
And then so she kind of I had a show that week. She invited Crystal, who was in her program, and then her husband Patrick to come out, and I met them there, and then kind of just hit it off right away. I work on music with Patrick once a week, and we're good buddies. And then he introduced me to all these cats from back in that area.
Very cool.
Yeah,
We were just kind of living in Patrick's shed at the time too, so we were just
You were living it, man. You're living that artist shit, or what do you mean?
Well, I guess once they moved to Bloomington, we kind of moved. They have the punk house in Floyd County.
Okay.
And I guess there were 8 of us living in this house, just kind of all over the place, just on tables and in laundry rooms and shit. And
yeah.
everybody was
gnarly.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's cool. Are you from Bloomington originally? I was wondering about that.
No, I'm
or
from
Floyd County.
Yeah, I'm from kind of the same area. Floyd County is in Indiana, but it's right across the river from Louisville.
Okay.
So there's right along the river there. You have Clarksville and Jeffersonville and New Albany, which are proper cities.
Okay.
And then I'm from out in the country outside of there.
Yeah.
A tiny town called Greenville.
Okay. How'd you get to Bloomington?
I went up there for school originally.
Okay.
And then just kind of hung around because I really like the scene up there.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So how long you're still there? How long have you been living there?
This is my 8th year there.
8th, tight. Word. The shows and stuff pretty good too? Is it weird? Do you have to feel like you're recruiting new fans once every 4 years or something? When college kids get out, or?
Yeah, it's an interesting scene because there's it kind of depends on who you're fucking with, but there's definitely the college scene, but then there's a really big towny scene too. There's a lot of the folks I know who book and play shows are people that have been in Bloomington for like 10 plus years, just kind of like been around, or like some of the people I know have been there their whole lives. And so there's a lot of like it took me a while to like get in touch with that scene. There's a lot of folks, like most of them are like people in the punk scene that I just kind of like mesh with, and we'll do like mixed genre shows and stuff like that. But yeah, it's interesting because there's definitely more of like a indie rock scene, and kind of like the punk scene there is largely like folk punk and pop punk and stuff like that.
Yeah, Planet X Records is from there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the hip hop scene's small but strong. Like there's like several people that are super dedicated and like really like strong supporters of the scene, but it's a small amount of people, so it's like
Who are some of the people I played out there like twice
with L.I.on?
I played with him.
Yeah, he's one of the cats that's been in the scene for a long time.
Okay.
Somebody I met at the same time I met L.I.on was Arjuna, who's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, I think I met him as well. Like with dreads.
Yeah, short with like mega dreads. His wife actually does hip hop stuff too. She makes beats under the name Iris, and she is fire.
That's tight.
There's a dude named Stackzilla, who's like one of the like old school heads in Bloomington, who is just another artist that's just like on point. Like his live show is incredible, and he's a real cool dude. Those are some of kind of like the main stalwarts of the scene.
Tight. You were saying you mesh more with like the punk stuff. Like I can pick that up on listening to your stuff. Obviously, did you like play music like that before you got into rap, or like how'd that all work?
I've never played any. I've never really played like instruments per se. I've always like when I started making music, it was on the computer. I took like a couple band classes here and there when I was in grade school, but I never played punk music. I've just always loved it. Yeah, it's kind of like the first music I ever like really got into and got passionate about was hip hop, and then that was shortly followed by punk, and just kind of like those two worlds have been really influential to me for a long time. And you're kind of like in a rural area when all this is happening. Yeah. So you're probably sticking out like a sore thumb, like yeah, for sure. Wearing my like studs and spikes to my high school, and they're like, "You got to take that jacket off. It could be a weapon." Yeah, that's awesome. All that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was an interesting place to grow up and be up into the stuff I'm in. The town I'm from is 600 people, so that's my graduating class. It's like more than that. That's gnarly. And what about you? You like, are you DJing real vinyl? Did you ever go through that phase, or do you have Serato, or what are you doing? Well, I run everything out of a tractor. You press and play, man. You don't have to church it up to me, man. You can tell me. No, I run a lot of effects chains through Tractor. I'm like a Native Instruments fanboy. Okay. Everything runs off. I like when I first started getting into hip hop. My grandparents had 2 record players out in their garage. They're probably so bummed when you're like, they were really bummed when I broke them. How do I do immediately. This? Yeah. I plugged them in, and after I finally figured out how to hook it up, I was like, okay, and I played a record, and I was immediately ready to start scratching on it. And I just tore up a whole bunch of stuff. I did the same thing, but at like 19, so I'm sure yours was like way more excusable. Yeah. Okay, so what happened from there? How did that all play out? I kind of just did that. I had the interest in it, and soon after I broke all that, my parents got me my first guitar, and they were like, okay, stay off of all the expensive equipment. Yeah. And I kind of just, I'm kind of from the punk scene, too. I've always just played guitar and bass, and I played drums and everything, really. Cool. But this is, I guess, we went on tour last year together. Oh. I went with my group, and then Fricktion still booked, the whole damn thing. Yeah, what's your group? Oh, we were the Indigo Kids. We're not really too active anymore. Was it like a band or like a hip hop group? Well, we had a few different phases. We did some live band hip hop, and then we switched off of that, and we were just kind of like our group. But there's 8 people involved, so that's tough. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass to get everybody together. Yeah, and y'all have a stable of beat makers. There's 4 a stable people in the crew that make beats. You put them out in a stable? Is that what you mean? Yeah, you just put them to work and water them once a day. Throw some hay in there. Well, like I said earlier with the shed, when Patrick moved up to Bloomington and met Fricktion there, he just kind of left us the house. Yeah. So we were, me and my good friend Colin were pretty much just living in the shed. Well, Colin was really living in the shed. He had a mattress out there, and I was staying there every night. Yeah. But we would sit out there every day and just make
like at least a beat, but like sometimes like 3 or 4, and we just would not leave, and we didn't leave that shed for like 2 years.
That's awesome. That's crazy, man. What, like, how are you existing as an adult in this period too? Like what was your role in society aside from like making beats in the shed? Like,
not really much. Like we really weren't doing anything. We were just kind of like shitty people, just drinking all the time and hanging out in the shed. But
yeah,
near the end of it, like once I got a girlfriend near the end of it, and she was not having that.
oh yeah, dude.
She was not liking me in the dirty old shed. So I kind of.
You gotta pick me or the shed.
Yeah, that's
I'm
about
not
what it was.
sleeping on that hay one more night.
That's awesome. Yeah, look at you now.
Yeah, right.
There you go. That's cool, man. So you're vegan, right? Or were at the time of what you were saying earlier, or you are now still?
I am, yeah.
Cool. And are you too? Or?
No, I'm not. I'm
Yeah,
not at
that's
all.
right. How did you get into that?
It's kind of a long, slow progression. I think the first thing that ever made me stop and think about eating meat was that when I was growing up, my family had chickens, and we'd have hens for eggs, and then we'd have roosters. And at some point, just kind of connecting the dots of like, oh, my buddy Clarence the rooster.
Yeah, they
is
were
like
pets
the same
to you
thing
at first,
that we're
right?
eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of having them as like pets kind of made me think about that. And then my sister, who's about 5 years older than me, was like the first one in the family to stop eating meat, and she was always really influential on me growing up. So her doing that made me like think a lot about it. And then I think when I was like 12 or 13, I decided to stop eating meat, and my mom was like, hell no.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of I don't even think I told her at first. I just kind of like surreptitiously stopped eating the meat at dinner, and like
they're
eat
not
everything
gonna
else,
notice.
leave the meat on the plate. Like, yeah, they won't even
It's the
catch
third
on.
coincidence today.
Yeah.
All 3 meals.
Yeah. And then, from there on out, I was vegetarian for several years, and then around the time I was like a senior in high school, I had slowly been moving towards vegan in general, just like getting like progressively like less comfortable eating eggs and drinking milk and stuff, and then eventually, actually this documentary called Earthlings was what flipped it for me, because I went to see that with my sister, and we were both just like at the end, like just looked at each other like, it's time.
That's crazy. How hard is it to tour with that sort of diet?
It's been surprisingly easy, actually.
Really?
Like Chris and I have been both eating really well.
Mm-hmm.
We're both prone to like eating a lot of junk and just like wrecking ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been making a concerted effort on this tour to be like thoughtful about what we eat, and between like staying with really nice people that are like down to like cook us food or whatever, and like finding different like, it's all ethnic food is always what I bounce to, because like most cultures other than ours or like Western Europe are like a lot more like vegetarian friendly. So if there any town of like a reasonable size is gonna have like at least a Mediterranean joint.
Yeah.
And so I'll eat falafel there, or when other times, if we're staying with a good friend, like some of them will just be like, oh yeah, we'll make you some food, and
that's tight.
They mostly know I'm vegan, so they just kind of keep that on the side or whatever.
Word.
But yeah, it's been working out.
I know you said you toured. So what? I'm like all backwards here. How old were you when you were like starting to play shows and stuff like that?
Actually, I got started playing shows pretty late.
Okay.
I've been making music since I was like 16 or like 15. I didn't really start playing shows until I was probably like halfway through college, so I would have been like 20, 21, something like that. And
I feel like that's pretty normal for like a rapper. Like no one wants to hear like a 15-year-old rapper. Like
yeah, it's like people that cut their teeth in
weirdos
the
on
punk,
YouTube,
in the punk scene are like playing shows when they're 15.
Yeah, it's
like,
a little, for some reason it's like more excusable.
Yeah.
Just because you can be like, it's just super angsty and you don't have to make that much sense and don't have to have like that many words. It's just like, here it is.
But yeah, when I was in college, I worked for a good few years with a friend of mine named Ellie, who we had a group together when we were in school, and they had a bunch of experience playing shows with like live bands, and I had never done a show before. And so when we started making music together, they were like, like we're gonna need to do shows, and I was like, oh, so I had to like do this in front of people.
Yeah.
And it was really like nerve-wracking at first, but then after after a couple shows, it was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, this is so exhilarating.
Yeah.
And then that really kind of helped me break down my fear of that, and then...
So you were shook for a while? You, like, didn't really want to do it, though? You were kind of forced into it?
I didn't, like... I don't think I would have come to the conclusion that I should do shows on my own.
Really?
But, like... I'm sure over time I would have.
Yeah.
At the time, it was the furthest thing from my mind. I was just like, yeah, making music in the studio. And
were you, like, putting it out, like, on the internet then, or just making it? Okay.
And then, like, yeah, they were just very, like, we're making music, we have to do shows.
Yeah.
Of course.
This
and
is
I was
how
like,
you promote.
oh, right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I did, like, they kind of pushed me into it, and then it was like, oh, okay, this is a thing that's really fun to do. And, like, a great way to get it out there.
Yeah, I was talking to someone recently. It was like, if it wasn't for, like, the live show, I don't know how much drive I would have to even, like, make the music half the time. You know? Like, this is like such a big part of it for me, is playing.
Yeah, when you're, like, writing a track or, like, working with a beat, and you're like, oh, this would be so fun to do live.
Yeah,
that's
just, like, all of it, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
How about for you? Like, when did you start playing out?
Well, I played, back when I was in high school, I did, like, a lot of acoustic shows and, like, a few little coffee shop shows and things like that. And then I had a big gap in time where I couldn't find anyone to play with me or anything like that. And then, really, I guess it was probably about 2-3 years ago when I fell in with my Indigo Kids friends and everything. And we,
oh, really?
Yeah, we started playing shows. It took a while, but eventually we kind of got our feet on the ground and started, like, playing some shows and organizing some events and stuff like that.
Yeah, and this was in Louisville?
Yes, that was in Louisville. Actually, our first show was in Bloomington, though, up there on IU campus, and it was a blast.
Yeah.
Before I ever knew you.
Yeah, and as soon as I did that one, I was like, I got to start booking all the time. I was like, I have to get on stage. I have to be there. I was like, this is too much fun.
Yeah, it seems like everyone gets lucky with, like, one of their, like, first shows. So, like, oh, like, if I had, like, I've played so many shows, like, since my first one, and, like, so many have been, like, complete, like, just bombed out. Like, I played one the other day, and my dad came. I'm like, oh, this would be cool. Like, he's going to see me, like, play a big crowd. Should be a big show. Then, like, no one was there, and, like, the promoter's like, okay, Cody, time to go on. I'm all like, oh, fuck. And I got on stage for a minute, and, like, literally my dad's, like, the only one there. So I, like, went in the other room, and I, like, grabbed everyone in the other bands and shit. I'm like, hey, can you guys, like, I normally wouldn't care, but, like, can you come in and just, like, sit around my dad or some shit like that? So it looks like, but, like, I remember when I was, like, 19, like, going to Columbus, playing a basement show, like, 3rd, 5th show, something like that. No one knew who I was, and, like, people were just, like, partying and, like, all about it. I'm like, yeah, this was the shit. I'm gonna do this forever.
Yeah.
So it's like, you gotta get lucky within, like, your first couple, I feel like. But, you've done some tour, like, you guys said you toured last year.
Mm-hmm.
How many other tours have you done?
Last year was the first one for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you booked it all yourself, though?
Yeah, I think you put together one of the dates.
Yep.
I think Patrick made one of them happen, and then I booked, like, the other 5 or 6, something like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And were you, like, how did that all start for you? Were you, like, booking shows in Bloomington? Like, would you take in, like, touring acts and stuff and connect with people, or?
Yeah, that was a big part of what, like, started so I'm still relatively new to booking shows, like, for a long time I was playing shows before I ever really thought, like, oh yeah, I can also do booking.
Yeah.
But then I started just kind of making a few more connections with people out of town and being like, okay, like, if I want this band to come play or this group to come play, like, it's not going to happen unless I make it happen. And started just kind of exploring my options within Bloomington. And then, like, again, it's like the punk scene connection. It's like when you know so many people in the punk scene, it's like they all go on tour just all the time. And so, like, that just really got my gears turning, like, oh, like all these people are just doing it themselves, just kind of, like, throwing together a tour, like, so I was like, you know, what does that take exactly? And just kind of started looking into it, started plotting it out. I work like a straight up office job, so
Okay.
I have like vacation time. So I
Cool.
was just kind of like, all right, I'm gonna set aside a week's worth of vacation time, plan a show for that, like every day of that, and then just figure it out.
Hell yeah, that's tight. What is your job? What's your office job?
I work at the Journal of American History, which is on campus at Indiana University, which is in Bloomington.
Okay.
And it's like a real serious like academic history journal.
Okay.
I kind of just fell into it. I started working there part time when I was in school and just kind of needed like a little side job.
Mhm.
And I had a friend who was a history major that was working there, and he was like, "Oh hey, someone's about to quit. Like you should apply."
Yeah.
And then I ended up right around the time I was getting ready to graduate. My then boss was getting ready to leave to go back to school, and I had worked really closely with her. She kind of had some extenuating circumstances going on in her life that that I was able to kind of like help, prop her up during some rough times, and so I learned a lot of like the inner workings.
Oh, because she had to kind of like step down with what she was going through. So
Yeah.
you were like kind of like overqualified for your position, probably.
Yeah. So then at some point I just kind of had the thought like, she's getting ready to leave in the summer. I'm getting ready to graduate at the beginning of the summer. Just kind of asked her one day, like, "Hey, I don't mean to be presumptuous, but like, what did it take to get this position? What qualifications did you need?" And yeah, it turned out I was, having like a bachelor's degree was, more than enough. So I ended up just kind of like getting trained into that position. And,
Tight.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Like whenever you know in advance that you're gonna have my vacation days. Like this week, I went into work. I work for my dad. He's like, "Hey kid, I'll be out of town next week, so no work." I'm all like, "Cool." Like if you would have told me that like 2 months ago, I would have been like so hyped. I'm like, "I'm going on tour for a week," but now it's all like, "All right." So I'm like texting people all day, like, "Hey man, you guys need help like pouring concrete next week? Like, what's good?" But we'll see how that works out. What do you do? And are you still in Louisville?
Yeah, I'm like right over the bridge
Yeah.
in Indiana, and I'm just kind of hanging out there.
Oh,
I kind of like went under the wing of this guy, Chef Michael Bowe, who's like a meat wizard.
yeah.
He's like-
You are the opposite of him.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All he does is kill stuff. Sometimes eats it. It's amazing.
Yeah, but I've been working pretty extensively and closely with this guy for 2 years, coming up on like 2.5, and I'm probably just gonna ride it out with him for hopefully for the rest of my life. Unless he stops cooking, he'll probably die on the line. But no, he's been really kind to me. I met him when they were opening this restaurant up. I was trying to be a bartender.
Yeah.
And then it turns out they had no kitchen staff, so he kind of just walked up to me and was like, "Hey, do you know how to cook?" And I was like, "Oh yeah," because I'd already been working in kitchens.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to hop back there." And then it ended up just being like me and him and his wife, who's like a doctor, like a legitimate doctor, was back there cooking with us for a little bit. Yeah. And we did like a little month like that with just like 4 of us.
Yeah.
And I just kind of wrote it out. He's got some really cool people working with him. This guy Travis Dingus, who's fucking good as well. And I'm just kind of like their little child. I'm just kind of like
That's
hanging out
awesome.
with them.
Yeah. So are you like on that restaurant nightlife or?
It kind of varies. Just since I didn't go to culinary school or anything, like a lot of people we hire do, or like they're already established. But I'm still pretty good, so like I just kind of get filtered in like wherever I'm needed.
Okay.
I split all my off time pretty much with I work with another guy who's in a band, Baby Yeah.
Okay.
And they're a big touring act, so we just kind of like switch off our off days.
Yeah,
so when
that's
he
awesome.
leaves, I'll cook on the line, and when he comes back, I'll cook in the middle of the night, pretty much. Like I'll come in at like 5 in the morning and leave at like 3 p.m.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's tight. That's so tight whenever you find someone that's like down with it, like a job that's like letting you flip flop like that with the other dude who's in the touring band. What was I gonna say? I think I wanted to talk about like the content of your stuff too. It's like socially aware. I don't know like a good tagline to say for that. That's not like super corny.
Conscious.
Yeah. Conscious. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, man. How tell me about that, bro.
Word. Yeah, I mean, I've always appreciated music of all sorts, all kinds of content. But I found just kind of over the years, and in a sense, it probably has to do with listening to so much punk rock in my adolescence and all the political messages that pop up in that music. Especially I love 80s hardcore.
Yeah.
And there's so much from that Reagan era, so much frustration
exactly.
and all that comes out. And then I remember a pivotal song for me in hip hop was The Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and just hearing just such blunt, straightforward depiction of that inner city, Bronx life and at that time, and was just kind of it just really opened my eyes to things I'd never really thought about.
Yeah.
Super in depth. And since then I've been into a lot of socially conscious hip hop artists like Dead Prez and Talib Kweli, Immortal Technique, and so on. So I always just I started off rapping just kind of just to fuck around. Me and my friends in high school were just let's make beats and come up with the most crass rhymes we can possibly think of.
I think every high schooler wants to do that for a little bit, just say some ignorant shit.
Yeah, almost a caricature approach. And then around the time I was close to when I was graduating high school, I had started writing more on my own, just kind of not for the songs we were doing together, just kind of writing what was in my head.
Yeah.
And just started kind of naturally taking that bent towards social issues and that kind of stuff. And that really fermented while I was in college, and
for sure,
just kind of a lot life's just such a big learning process. So it's over the years I just learn more and more things that frustrate me and that I want to express and talk about. So yeah, it's one small way that I feel my music can make some kind of impact.
Yeah, definitely. I had your EP in the other day, the 6-track one. I forget if it has
Critical.
a name. Critical, yeah. But I was like, damn, this makes me feel so selfish because all I write about is me. I'm fuck, maybe I should be trying to do something bigger. But that's rad. You can do that. I'm just not I can't string shit together like that. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
So it's definitely a skill. It's definitely cool that you can do it. And do you feel you reach people? Do you feel you're preaching to the choir when you're at shows?
I feel it's hard to tell because I feel with a lot of that stuff, with a lot of the concepts I talk about, it's kind of a slow burn. It's not all of a sudden gonna hit you while you're at a show.
Yeah.
Kind of one of the things I hope to do is kind of plant a seed to make someone think about it later. Maybe they go home, maybe the next day they're oh yeah, that thing he was talking about. But yeah, a lot of the times I do feel it's preaching to the choir a little bit, because usually the people that come up and talk to me after the show are oh, that song, I totally agree, or that kind of stuff. So it's hard to gauge what new ears it's getting into, but yeah, it's I like to think that it's some small drop in the bucket.
Hell yeah, man. I won't hold you guys up too much longer because pretty much got to turn into the venue. But where's somewhere on the internet people could find both your stuff?
Word. Probably the best place for mine is Fricktion, FRICKTION.bandcamp.com. And then also just on Facebook, I have an artist page for Fricktion where I post different stuff about tour dates and releases and stuff. Cool. And you can, I've posted it on there a couple times. I just dropped a collaborative EP with my good buddy Marshall Brown under the moniker Mount Fiction. That's you can get to from the Facebook page.
Right on.
Yeah.
And then what about DJ Mix Master Sick Nasty
Supreme? We are on SoundCloud with my Indigo Kids EP, and you can find that on SoundCloud. It's Indigo Kids Music, but the kids is with a Z, so it's
obvious. I mean, it's rap. It's
yeah,
with a
you
Z.
gotta have.
If
you
didn't know that,
drop the
just
S.
tune out now.
But we've got the Barely Average EP up there, and it's a good time. It's some fun time music.
Dude. Yeah,
it's nowhere near as conscious as Friction's music.
No, that's all good. Yeah, I mean, it's stressful sometimes. can be overwhelming. You need to cut loose once in a while. I should have asked this earlier. Are like the other dudes from that group doing stuff still?
Papa Trick is still out there. He's I'm still waiting on him to send me some tracks to mix for it, and we're gonna drop his EP hopefully pretty soon. But you can find him on SoundCloud. I think he's on there as Papa Trick.
Okay.
Yeah.
And man, Brad, Notepad Brad is on SoundCloud. I'm not sure what his URL is, but he dropped
all good.
like a
like
a 28
full
song,
album,
a 28 song album or something.
Oh my God. That's huge. That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. I was just curious if like those guys, everyone just like kept going with it, or like.
Yeah, we have a guy, Black Jesus, in the group, and me and Black Jesus, actually, he just changed his name to Dallas Shamir. But me and old Dallas Shamir still...
that name.
Yeah, right? But we still, we get in the studio every now and again. We've been putting out a couple little things. And
that's awesome, man. We'll definitely keep an eye out for all that shit, and thanks for stopping by. See you guys at the show in a minute, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
No problem. Alright everyone, that was my interview with Fricktion and DJ Mixmaster, Sick Nasty Supreme, and or Thomas and Chris. I enjoyed my talk with those dudes. It was cool to hear like their story from this like super rural area. Like way more rural than where I'm from, and how their kind of journey into hip hop and stuff like that. And after the interview, it was kind of nice. Fricktion was like, hey, by the way, like, don't feel like what you're doing is not important just because it's personal. Like, and that was like kind of nice to hear, like someone else be like, you know what, you still do make a difference. And I don't know, I struggle with that a lot, so it was good to hear. But yeah, they gave you links and stuff like that. Check them out. They'll be doing their thing for a while, hopefully. And I'm sure you can find the TheThrowAwayDays on the internet, or Stillborn Identity, Cody Jones, or whatever your little heart desires. It's all out there. But hopefully I'll be back in a week or two with a new episode, and you can just hear my useless babbling then. But alright, thanks for tuning in. See you guys and girls. See you guys and girls. Alright, peace.